Hi everyone, Rukshan here and thanks for joining me for this video. I'm going to show you this video from France. Some of you might have already seen it in my story earlier today. So it's this video of people who are sitting at cafes, the police come and they're checking something on their phone. It's like a 17-second clip, but it's gone completely viral on the internet because it really shows you kind of a dystopian look at our world today, right? You'd think it's something from the future or the past. You can't believe that it's actually happening in our time, that while you're sitting at a cafe, police are coming around and asking for, a certificate saying, papers, please show us that you're allowed to be sitting here. But that is a reality of the world that is already existing today. And countries like Australia are transitioning into that kind of future as well, right? All the things that our politicians are talking about, all the things that we're implementing is moving us in this direction. Here's the clip. Let's just play the clip.
Vos passes sanitaires, s'il vous plaît.
Avec une pièce d'identité, s'il vous plaît.
Je ne sais absolument pas à quoi ça sert. On est en terrasse, on est deux, il n'y a personne autour. C'est de l'absurdistan. Je ne vais pas aller jusqu'au bout.
Crazy, right? Like, some people I know will look at that and be like, oh, it is what it is, it's not an inconvenience. They're just checking that for everyone's health and safety and making sure people are on board. Whereas other people like myself, when I see that, I see, this dystopian, totalitarian, authoritarian state that just kind of interferes in your life. Even if you've taken the vaccine, these people are still harassing you and following you around in your private life to ensure that you are complying. But what's actually happening in this video is interesting when you analyze it and you look at some of the things that are happening in France right now. See, in this video, you will notice that a lot of the cafes that these people are sitting in are empty, right? It's just the people who have decided to get vaccinated who are sitting in this cafe. And I did some research and I looked into a few other videos from France and what's happening on their social media scene. And there's some really interesting content there in relation to how people are, reacting to the enactment of these laws where they need a pass to participate in everyday activities that we've taken for granted for so long. And a lot of these videos show that people who are vaccinated and unvaccinated are not participating in this system that's been, pushed onto the people in France. They're protesting against it, even the vaccinated. And that is because in these clips you have rows and rows of cafes that have no patrons. People are deciding to just purchase the food takeaway and eat outside, sit on the street as a form of protest. So a form of boycott of these small businesses, which I don't condone. I think that's also a bad thing for small businesses. Boycotting small businesses through no fault of their own. They've been put in this position, right? The government's introduced these types of laws and small businesses are suffering as a result because people are deciding to boycott businesses out of principle. See, the French protest movement has been growing and growing and growing, and it's still growing, and they're still opposing what's happening in relation to these vaccine passport and mandatory forced vaccination. But now that the laws are introduced into the country, it doesn't mean everyone's just complying, right? People are being creative in the way that they're resisting these changes. And that might have an impact. That might cause a change in society, right? That might cause people to reconsider these types of rules and these mandates, because at the end of the day, businesses are still suffering, society is not functioning as it should, and people are not happy with the way that their government is deciding to run these type of mandates and these passports. So I'll just play I've been playing some clips throughout this video. You've seen some of the empty cafes, and this is a really interesting one where you have a group of two young men who have bought their own chairs and their own little table as a form of protest to purchase food and then eat it on the street, like a typical Parisian style cafe type thing. So, I mean, I don't know how across the board this is in the country, and I know different provinces possibly have different experiences, but this is something that's actually happening in a country where these rules have been introduced. Now, in Australia, what do I think will happen in the future? Look, I definitely think once we have these passports and they force businesses to comply, and especially the states get the businesses to, have this type of system in place, just like they did with the QR codes. Businesses were pretty much forced to have that as an option, otherwise they couldn't operate, because you had people going to business doing compliance checks and finding businesses who weren't participating in this system. So in the same way, we will have police or some sort of authority doing compliance checks on small businesses in Victoria to ensure that the patrons inside these shops have a vaccine certificate. Now, here I feel like, well, from what I've seen and how the population has been behaving, I think the people who are double jabbed or vaccinated, they will happily use that privilege to participate in society and look down on those that do not wish to make that step, because we've really turned in this country towards the mentality of us versus them. The media and the government has been really successful in creating this divide and labeling people. So you have one group who are apparently all just pro-vaxxers that just want to save the world and save everyone, and the other group is just anti-vaxxers and they just want to destroy society, and they're the ones that are holding society back. But the truth is somewhere in the middle, right? A lot of the issues that we're having is caused by the government, is caused by politicians, is caused by health authorities, is caused by foreign nations, even in some instances. A lot of these things maybe could have been avoided. But what we're seeing is that people in power, governments, people in the media are finding, scapegoats, people to blame. And unfortunately, they're grouping people who are concerned about all sorts of different issues, like, civil liberties, like freedom, like our rights, into these groups as these anti-vaxxers and anti-this and anti-that. But the truth is, very different. And you're seeing the truth, I think, play out in a country like France that has a long tradition of people, being a bit more rebellious, in the sense that they will revolt against government, in a much more coordinated and sophisticated way to what I'm seeing in this country. And that is because people who are vaccinated and people who are unvaccinated are joining together and fighting for the same rights for everyone, because they see the problems that can arise in their society if they allow the government to make these types of things permanent. So it's just something for all of us to think about. I think we really need to get out of this thing that we're, there's two sides to this and somehow we're up against each other and we're holding each other back. I really think we need to focus in the government and ensure that, everything that they're doing is above board and representative of the very foundational ideals of nations like Australia. Thanks for watching, guys, and see you guys next time.